take your time. Don't rush things. Don't feel like you have to be someone that you're not. Accept, that even though things might not be turning out or be panning out the way you had expected them to, as cliche as it sounds, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And you just need to persevere, find what works for you, and do you.
These testimonials are representative of my or our experiences, but the exact results and experience will be unique and individual to each person. The information provided herein is not medical advice and is not intended to substitute for the advice of your personal physician or other healthcare providers. Welcome to The Beautiful Bag. This is your host, LeeAnne Hayden, cancer survivor, and more importantly, ostomy lifer. Each and every week, I'm going to be bringing a special guest or some inspiration for you and a few little stories along the way so that you can learn what life is like for us to be living in an ostomy and why we all think it's a beautiful bag. So listen in and let's get started.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's The Beautiful Bag podcast. I have a brand new friend of mine. She's not brand new to the ostomy world, but she's a brand new friend of mine. We met on Instagram. She's got the best accent. You're going to hear her. You're going to think the show Outlander. You're going to be all over it, like all over it. But she is doing some amazing, amazing things out on social media, talking about an ostomy and all the things that, frequently asked questions. We're going to get into so much. Stefanie, I want to just welcome you to the show.
Hi, I'm happy to be here. I'm really excited. I've never done a podcast before, so I'm looking forward to this. Thank you for asking me to be a part of it, by the way. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. And guys, see, I told you you're going to love her accent. I'm going to let her do most of the talking today, just so you can listen to it. So Stefanie, she's 22 years old. She lives in Scotland. She's had 2 surgeries. She's in an ileostomy due to ulcerative colitis. And, and she's just really, her message on Instagram is a girl raising awareness. And again, like I said, you're doing such amazing things with that, Stefanie. So thank you from all of us to you for what you're doing out there.
Thank you. It's bizarre. Like just how, think back to like how far it's came, like my wee page. I didn't actually think it would receive this much attention. It's these kind of things that make me so glad that I decided to put my story out there back when I did, because I feel like it has helped a lot of people. It's helped me a lot as well. That's my wee safe space. And I feel like that's where I feel most comfortable to talk about my experiences and my stories. And, if it wasn't from a little page, we wouldn't be speaking today. So, yeah.
Exactly. We talk about that a lot too with all the other ostomies, with the other ostomies I've had on the show. We talk about the community that we're building, and we're building it on Instagram, I think, more than any other platform. I think Instagram has been the biggest, at least from what I can see.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. I mean, you're a college student, you're in school, let's talk about what led into your ostomy.
So, it was kind of like, thinking back, it was more of like, how would I word it? I'd never had any, implications relating to my bowel before in the past. I never had any issues medically back before, my diagnosis of ulcerative colitis. It was more, I woke up one day, I didn't feel very well, and I went to the doctors, routine procedure. I got to the doctors, they prescribed me antibiotics, nothing helped. They then, I think it was a week later, I went back to the doctors and they had says like, are you still having the same symptoms that you'd had previously the last time we saw you? And I was like, yep, it's the same symptoms. And then they had said that it was just a sickness bug. They had put it down to a sickness bug, unfortunately. Obviously now we know that wasn't the case, but at the time that was the diagnosis, So then fast forward, I had went about 2-3 months of these constant symptoms every single day. I was in school and I couldn't concentrate. I was trying to study for my exams at the time. I couldn't study for my exams because I was homebound, I was bedbound, I was in pain every day. I was losing so much weight, I couldn't eat. And essentially I was just deteriorating day by day. And I ended up going back to the doctors one day just to say to them, like, this isn't healthy. Like, I know my own body. It's not a sickness bug. If it was, it would have disappeared by now. So it got really bad to the point where I couldn't go to school. I couldn't sit my exams. I didn't get to go to my prom. And it was then that we went to the hospital. It was actually I think it was 2 weeks after my prom, I went to the hospital, and they had said that they were going to do a colonoscopy, because that's what they done to kind of see what was going on in there, to try and diagnose me, because they didn't know what the problem was. And then when they done the colonoscopy, that's when they said, there's mildly active colitis. And at the time, I didn't know what that was. To me, that just, a part of me was very happy that there was something wrong, because it gave me ease knowing that I wasn't kind of making it up in my own head. So when they told me I had colitis, that was, at the time I didn't know what it was, but I was happy that there was something wrong. And then fast forward again, after they had diagnosed me with the colitis, things just were getting progressively worse. They put me on medication after medication. Nothing was working. It was trial and error. But because mine got left for so long, it was months before they actually diagnosed me. It was too far gone for me to have, that luxury of trial and error and lots of other medications. My bowel was too far gone. It was too inflamed. The pain was getting too bad. My quality of life was, at its lowest. And they just immediately, after my third colonoscopy, said to me that, it was too far gone. It was either, either trial and error medications that could potentially come out in 3-4 years' time, or you could get a bag. That was like my two options at that time. And that's what led to me getting a bag. That was the pinning point, like just me being ill, going to doctor's appointments, constantly seeing surgeons. And a part of me feels quite bad though, because I did leave it for months, even though I knew myself something wasn't right. I kind of put all my trust in doctors. I thought, you're telling me this is a sickness bug. They know what they're talking about. Who am I to tell them how to do their own job? They know the anatomy. They must know that it is a bug, even though I didn't think it was. I put my trust in them and believed them. So for that, they 3-4 months that I was left unwell, I wish I had said something. It plays on my mind a lot. Like, if you'd have said something sooner, could you have prevented, the outcome? Obviously I couldn't, and I can't go back to the past.
Right, but you said something important there, and I think that that's something that we all need to really, everybody, people who we're in the bag, or people that are not in a bag, that may be listening to this show. You said something very important. You know your body better than doctors do. Even though they're the experts, something's not right, and we need to speak up more. Like, no, this isn't just a bug. Like, this is something bigger than that. And absolutely. You know what? Like you said, you can't go back and turn the clock. So you can't go back and turn back time. So now you're in your bag. I mean, you're young, like you're in college. I mean, how was that? Like, what was that like when you first got it?
When I first got the bag, prior to getting the bag, I had said repeatedly I didn't want it. Getting the bag was the worst possible outcome I could have imagined back then. And I must have went a year and a half denying getting the bag. So I will be honest about that, and I've been really open about that on my page, how I didn't want that bag. In my head at the time, it was disgusting. It was horrible. It was going to make me feel unattractive. It was going to be essentially my worst nightmare coming to life. So when I did have the operation and I did get my bag, at first I did not like it, and I struggled a lot mentally and physically. Trying to accept, the changes, like trying to look at myself in the mirror and recognise myself was really difficult. Every morning I would wake up, I didn't want to look at my bag because I just wanted to pretend that it wasn't there. I didn't want to talk about it openly to people because, let's be real, who wants to talk about poo? Nobody. It's so nobody wants to talk about that because it's such a taboo subject. There's a stigma attached to it. So when I first got the bag, the first few weeks were really, really hard. They were challenging for me. But after my second surgery, because after my first surgery, I've said on my page, my first surgery, was a shambles. It didn't work the way it was supposed to. It was only supposed to be, my bag was only supposed to be temporary from the first operation. So like I says, even though I was, upset at the fact that I got the bag, a part of me did always think at the back of my head, you're not going to need to deal with this forever. This isn't a forever thing. You're going to give your bowel a break. You're going to live your life with an ostomy, but it's not permanent. So this isn't the end of the world. That was my mentality. Fast forward 3 months, things took a bad turn. My colitis came back with a vengeance. It affected me worse than we had expected or thought that it would, which then ultimately resulted in me getting the second surgery to remove the rectal stump and make it permanent. So that the second operation was actually the hardest, because that was the moment that I realized that this is my forever. Like, this is not, you know, something that I just need to put up with for a small period of time. Like, this is my forever. This is the way I'm going to look. I need to either accept it. And I was asking myself all these questions at that time when I had the bag, you know, how am I going to tell people I have a stoma bag? How am I going to, you know, go about my day-to-day life? I need to change what I wear, because I'm used to wearing, you know, my bodycon dresses that are tight. Nobody's going to find me attractive. You know, I'm not going to be the person that I was before. So the first initial few months were hard, but as the months went on, I felt the benefits from my stoma bag. I was able to actually get up out of bed. And I know that sounds really, you know, simple. Some people might think, wow, that's not really that big a deal. For me, that was a massive deal. Bearing in mind, I had spent majority of my 2 years lying in my bed, homebound. I was either here in my bed or I was in the loo. That was that. There was no in between, here or there. That's where I was. So the fact I was able to get up out of bed, I was able to keep food down, I was able to go out in the car and go to the shop, I was able to go and visit my grandpa, I was able to go and see my friends. That to me was like this total like eye-opener, like, whoa. Like, it reminded me of what it felt like to be normal. And I was in no pain. And I thought, I forgot what that felt like. I forgot what it felt like to feel, you know, a sense of relief, because every day was challenging. Every day was hard. Every day it was a task to get up. So when I ended up feeling all those benefits, I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. And then slowly but surely, as the time went on, I started to build a relationship up with my body. I started to love myself. I'm still going through that right now. It's, you know, it's a work in progress, but I can honestly say I am so glad that I had the operations. I do not regret the choice that I made. And in all honesty, if I could go back in time, I would have the surgery sooner, 100%.
There you go. Right. So, and you just said so much in there that was so lovely. It's still a struggle, right? 2 years later, it's still a struggle. I've been 6.5 years and it's still a struggle some days. Some days I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, and then, but I think that's typical of women and ourselves. Like, it's like, oh, I got a little muffin top, or oh, I got this. Now it's like, oh, I got this, and you just got like, you know, I feel bloated today. You know, it's like my boobs are up to my chin because I ate too much food yesterday. That's how right? Like, whatever it is, we're gonna at least start picking ourselves apart a little bit. So you add this into it and you're just like, oh. You know, but that's normal. That's women, whether we're in a bag or not. That's women. That's just what we do.
100%.
Yep. So, but you said talking about, like, realizing that you can live a normal life is what really started you to overcome the not wanting to have the bag, like overcome what you saw, how you thought it was going to be. Now, you said you thought it was going to be ugly and smelly and, you know, awful and who wants to talk about poo and all that stuff. But here you are, you're out on Instagram, you're answering some amazing questions that people ask you all the time, and you're showing your bag. And guess what? People in ostomies, we talk about poo, and guess what? That opens the door for other people to talk about poo, because people want to know. They want to know. They're curious. They want to know.
Absolutely. It's a weird one though, because like so many people, like when you put I'll use my own experience as an example. When I had my Instagram page, obviously my own personal one, before, like prior to having surgery, all my photos, if I was in a bikini, you know, I had this body with nothing attached to it. And then all of a sudden, you know, the next photo uploaded, God knows how long it was since my last one, sorry. But I've uploaded this photo and, you know, it's like there's something there that wasn't there before. So many people will probably look at that and think, whoa, like what's that? But that in itself to me is so powerful. Like, having something that's visual in front of your eyes, something that you've not seen before or you've never been exposed to, opens a doorway to ask questions. What is that? And there you go. That's how the conversation starts. well, this is an ileostomy, this is a colostomy, this is my urostomy, I suffered with Crohn's or colitis or, you know, any form of IBD, you know, I feel like social media is such an important platform to use, especially for people in the IBD community. It's such a good way to start conversations, to start breaking down misconceptions and tackling taboo subjects. That was my problem when I was going through everything that I did go through. There wasn't someone like me that I had on the internet to turn to in a time of complete confusion, complete, you know, like a state of a mental state where you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who to turn to. You do all these unanswered questions that you're not getting answers to in the hospital. One of the big things for me was the fact that the word stoma to me was always related to older people. Anytime the word, do you know what I mean?
I do. We talk about that all the time. I work with we do a lot of work with Hollister, the medical device company.
Yeah.
And we talk about that all the time. And I tell them, we talk about it all the time. It's like the marketing has been always geared towards that older generation. So we think it's an older person's disease when there is a majority of people who are actually younger, like under 50.
Yeah,
that are in stomas, that have a bag, whether it's cancer, Crohn's, colitis. And I think because Crohn's and colitis have gotten so much more talked about, like people are talking about it more, that it's coming out with all these younger people.
Absolutely. And it's bizarre because I remember I got a new job as a carer and I was getting my training done, and one of the modules that we had to cover was on stoma care. And when they were teaching us about stoma care, obviously they didn't know at the time that I myself had an ileostomy. How would you know? Do you know?
Right.
But
you don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was sitting and they were doing the training, and I will never forget this. They were like, this is the stoma bags that are normally used. And they pulled out this bag, right? And it was a see-through stoma bag, right? Now, when I seen this bag, the way they were expressing, you know, how it, like the anatomy of like a stoma and how it worked and how you would place the bag over a stoma, they never ever mentioned when they were talking about like various different types of stoma bags and appliances, not once did they mention the fact that that was only one representation of a bag, that there was all these other bags, you know, that were more discreet. Not one time did they mention that, and I actually had to educate them on the fact that there is black bags, because I opened up there and then and says, I feel like this is a misconception that there's only one type of stoma bag out there, because on the internet, back when I was in hospital, whenever I searched up the word stoma and you went on to Google Images, that was all you seen. So you can imagine anybody going through their journey of, you know, IBD, Crohn's, colitis, whatever it may be, bowel cancer, when they look on the internet and that's all they're seeing, that's daunting. That is terrifying. I remember how scared that made me. I thought, I do not want that on my body. No way in hell am I having that on my body. But had I known back then that there was actually these black bags, these white bags, you can get bag covers, lacy bags, very sexy bags actually. Would like light me up.
Right. And they don't talk about that. They don't talk about that. And that's the thing is too, is when you see, all you see is the clear bag and you think that's the end of it. Like you're going to look at your poo the entire time, like every day, when you don't. Like you said, I mean, you wear black bags. I wear tan bags. I wear bag covers. You wear bag covers. I have a girl here in the US who just sent me a purple sequence like bag cover. I'm like, oh, I'm going to rock that somewhere. I got to figure that out. But again, it's like, you know, we don't, like you said, no way in the world. I was the same way. No way in the world is that happening to me. Like I had a tumor. Leave the tumor. I almost was like, leave the tumor, because I'm not putting that on my body. And but that's not what it is. That's not reality. And like you said, you had to educate them. So, you know, big kudos to you for educating them.
Somebody had to, honestly.
Seriously. So you do so much. You know, how's school going?
School. So it's going amazing. The fact that I'm even at university is a massive achievement in itself. That was something I never thought plausible back when I was ill. I thought that, you know, the opportunities were a no-go for me. So the fact that I'm actually in uni, I am so appreciative of it every single day. Like I remind myself how grateful I am to be there. I'm studying psychology at the minute. It's going well. it was this, psychology's always been a subject that I wanted to pursue, but funnily enough, I got a new job, you know, rediscovered my roots back when I was in high school. And I got a job as a youth worker working with young people. And I've decided that come September, I'm actually going to change my degree and I'm going to go and do community education. So, yeah.
Oh, yay!
Process
We're
of
going to be a
change.
teacher. We're going to be a teacher. Oh, I love that. I love that. My daughter is 29 and she's an educator. So she's a teacher. Yeah, she is. Yeah. Yep.
I don't know if I'm going to go through the teaching route. That is a possibility. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking more about potentially being, I don't know if they have them in the US, but like a community learning and development officer or a partnership officer in a high school, working directly with the young people. You know, it's so hard to explain. It's so broad.
So broad, but you know what? They need it. They need it. Children need it, and I think that's an amazing it's an amazing career. It's an amazing career for you to go down. So yay, I'm excited. I can't wait. So let me ask you this. Because you go to your page, there's like 500 questions going on. What are some of the top, you said most times people are asking, but they're asking almost the same thing. So people need to be a little more educated. So what are some of the top questions that that people have asked you?
So, God, there's so many, but I'd say the top questions that I get personally on my page, one of the biggest ones is, when did you start exercising after your stoma surgery? How was it affected? Because fitness has become a humongous part of my life after all my surgeries, and I take my health really seriously. I try to look after my body a lot where I can. So when people ask me, you know, how was my body influenced after surgery and how did I get back in, how did I find, sorry, my words are flying about. How did I rediscover fitness after my surgeries? Because a lot of people feel like after their surgeries, you know, they feel their bodies have been, you know, poked and prodded with, they feel weak, they feel tired, they've maybe gained weight from steroids that they were on. I was that person. Another question I get a lot actually is, you know, how did you lose your weight after your surgery, after you were on steroids? I get asked, can I still wear dresses even with a stoma? Do you wear it horizontally? Do you wear it vertically? Some people didn't know I didn't even know you could wear a stoma vertically. Is that vertical?
You can, yep, vertically, yep, you can. You can just turn it sideways. Sometimes I fold it up. Sometimes I'll go out and get little Velcro buttons and fold it in half. Yeah. So I'll just get like little,
There's Coloplast bags you can get as well, and they can half.
Yep. And sometimes just having that half and not having it like hanging all the way down sometimes just feels good too. But and turning it sideways, I wear a 2-piece, and so you can unclip it and just reclip it sideways.
Oh wow.
And then it's not hanging down, it's hanging to the side.
Yeah, it's like positioned. Another question I've just remembered that I get asked while you were saying that, like this would probably be the top one along. It's up there with the fitness questions, is can I have sex after having my stoma surgery, and how do you manage having sex? Like, is that still a part of your life? Do you feel like it's different now that you have a bag? Has it affected your confidence? Like, how did you tell your partner that you had a stoma? That they are so common on my page, and I'm really open about that kind of stuff. You know, I'm open about my relationship and my experiences with sex. I feel like a lot of people aren't though.
They're not. A lot of people are afraid to talk about that. So let's talk about that, because you're young. I mean, and you are in a relationship. How was that? Did you meet him before, after, during?
I was really fortunate enough to have met my boyfriend in high school. So I've been with him, it's going to be 8 years this year. So we were young. He's my high school sweetheart. So he was with me pre-diagnosis. He was there from the very first symptom all the way through, you know, the ups and the very low lows. And then he was there with me all through my surgeries, everything. He's just been my constant. Like, he's been constant. So I'm quite fortunate in that sense. But obviously I can understand other people aren't in, you know, a luxurious position like that. And I feel like I can't talk on behalf of people, you know, who have to go and meet other people and open up about their stomas, because I've not been in that position. Right. But what I can say is that I would imagine that had I not have been with Chrissy, or if I was a single female, I would probably be very open about my stoma bag on a first date. I really think I would, because Stanley, that's my bag, Stanley.
Love it.
Just in case you're like, Stanley, who is that?
Stanley, yeah. Stanley's attached to you. Mine is Ivan. I call him Ivan.
Ivan. Oh
Ivan.
Ivan and Stanley are going to be the best friends.
Best of friends.
Best friends.
Best friends.
Like us. Best friends.
Seriously.
Yeah. Like, what was I saying?
You were talking about,
If I were single, you know, Stanley's such a big part of my life now, and I'm proud that I have him. I'm not ashamed of Stanley. Obviously, every day's a learning day. You know, sometimes you need to remind yourself to love yourself. But for the most part, I do. You know, I've accepted that Stanley's going to be there forever. So I feel like it's important to tell people that I have a stoma. But that's for me personally. Other people, I feel like an important message to send is that you don't need to feel obligated to tell people that you have one. I feel like there's a lot of pressure. Oh, I have to tell someone. You don't. If you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to. You do that in your own time. If you feel comfortable enough to open up about it, then you do that. And if you don't, that's okay too.
Yep, I agree. I would agree with that. It's your own personal preference of what you want to do. And I mean, and people like us, we're on social media with our bags out. So if anybody, you know, if we were single, which neither one of us are, but if we were single, people would know. It's because we talk about it, right? There's no hiding it. There's no hiding it. So, and then the other question you said you get asked a lot, is about fitness. I work out every day. I'm in the gym for an hour or two every single day. It's my mental health. I used to do fitness competitions back in the day. So I went from being a bikini fitness competitor up on stage in a teeny weeny bikini to now having a stoma bag. And I did do one competition after my bag. I wasn't in the best of shape, but I didn't care. I was still bloated from all the stuff, but I didn't care. I got up there anyway and said, I want to show that we can do this. But fitness, I get that question a lot too. And people are afraid of hernias or how do you move or what was the first things you started to do? And for me, it was like, I started by, I've lifted. I lift weights. That's what I do, you know, and I love it. So I started slow. You just start slow. I started walking basically first. Yeah.
It's like you're from the minute you wake up from your surgery, I feel like that's when your recovery starts the minute you wake up. Every movement that you do following on from that aids in your fitness journey. So see the motion of like even just sitting up out of bed, getting out of bed, standing up and going back to bed. That was like the start of my fitness journey. And I classify that as the start because that's when I started moving my body again. You know, that's when my recovery started. And from there on out, I did the same. I'm the same as you. Every day I am at the gym. It is ridiculous how much sportswear I have. It's shocking.
Yep. I'm with you.
They're like, you need to get actual clothes. And I'm like, well, I live in the gym. So
why?
Exactly.
Why?
But yeah, I'm the same as you. I strength train every day. You know, hernias, absolutely such a common question, and I understand that fear. And I've been very fortunate, touch wood, I've not caught a hernia, and I do strength train. You know, I'm in the weight section every day. I'm hitting the weights, trying to build muscle. You know, change my physique. But like that took time. That's 2 years on. At the start. It was body weighted things. It was going walks. It was simply just lying down and doing like tiny wee sit-ups. And even at that, it wasn't even a full sit-up. It was just me sitting up as much as I could go and lying down again. I started from it was like stripping everything back because I did go to the gym before, you know, all my colitis symptoms happened. But when I had my surgery and I did feel able to start going to the gym again, I started from basics. I worked on, you know, a lot of core work. I had to build up my core strength because if you don't have your core, you can't do anything. It's so important. Your core strength is so important. So I went back to basics, stripped it down and built my way up from there. And now I'm at a point where I'm back to where I was. Actually, I'm further ahead than what I was back before my symptoms. And that's all because, you know, I was patient with myself. I didn't put a lot of stress on myself to be this perfect or to go back to where I was at because I knew realistically that wasn't going to happen.
Right. Now I'm assuming, and I know it has happened to me. It really helps your mental health. For me, if I'm not, it's my mental health. Like I have to move every day.
For me, you'll be the same. see when you go through what we have went through, it is so detrimental to your mental health. It is ridiculous. Like, you're in such a dark place, and trying to find a way to cope with that can be hard. And luckily enough, you know, we found fitness. Fitness is my absolute escape. I wake up every morning, and even if I'm having a bad day, I know that when I go to the gym, I'm going to feel some sense of relief. You know, that gym's my outlet. When I go to the gym, all these thoughts, all the worries, all the anxiety that I feel just disappears, because when I'm in the gym, that's where I feel most comfortable and most at home. I think a lot of people think when people go to the gym, obviously they have their goals in mind, but for me, it's more of it's a lifestyle. It's my way of coping. It's my way of accepting everything that's happened to me. It's my way of becoming one with my body. So it's both. They both kind of fit into one. You know, my body, my mental health ties in.
I love it. I love it. No, and that's so important. And you said, you know, you take care of your health. You know, I'm sure you take care of, you know, what you eat, what you put in your body, from a food perspective, all of that. I mean, of course, we have our treats and our you know. Yes. I just came back from New York City and spent 5 days there. Let's just say there was alcohol had most of the days.
Just a bit. I would love to go to New York. I've never been to America.
Oh, well, then you're gonna have to come visit, and I'll meet you in New York, and we'll go to New York.
Absolutely.
Done. Sold. I go every month. I'm actually heading over to Italy for 3.5 weeks by myself. In a couple of weeks, I'm going on a yoga retreat, and I'm going to go to Rome. I'm going to go to a yoga retreat, go to the Amalfi Coast. I did make a friend when I was in New York, sitting at the bar. My husband had to go back to work. I was sitting at the bar, met this woman. She's my age. Her kids are older like me. She loves to travel. So she's going to actually meet me in Florence. So we're going to do Florence and Venice together.
What spurred that on? What spurred it on to go and travel?
So I've always loved to travel. And John and I lived in New York City for 3 years. And then we came back, we moved back to New Hampshire because that's where we're originally from. That's where all our kids are, grandkids, everything. And I felt like I was missing something. And I said, I want to go on a yoga retreat. My girlfriend sent me this thing. She goes, I can't go, but you might like this. And it's in Puglia. It's a week long in Puglia. And I was like, you know what? I should go. And I'm like, should I go by myself? Anyways, I woke up one morning just being like, I'm missing something. My soul's missing something. Yeah. And I need to go fill it. And so I just planned it. And then that 8-day yoga retreat has turned into 25 days. So I'm gone for 25 days.
That's amazing. I admire you for that. I love that kind of see, being spontaneous and outgoing. It can just lead, like you'll probably discover something about yourself that you never knew.
And that's the plan. That's the plan. I'm obsessed by that. And I love to travel. So I'm just like, you know, after our interview, we'll be putting our interview on the podcast. Everybody's going to listen to this beautiful interview. And then I have one more interview I'm doing for the following week. And then I'm just going to talk about, and then the next interview, they're not going to be interviews. I'm just going to talk about, here's where I am and this is what I'm doing.
This is what I'm doing. I am here.
Yeah, I'm here. Here's how it was going into another country with your bags, all that stuff. Like all that stuff.
My best friend, she loves traveling. Like, she traveled Europe herself, and this was just before, like, not just before, it was just as the pandemic had happened. So all the borders were shutting as she was traveling. So luckily enough, she got home. She's safe and sound, but she's very outgoing and adventurous like that. Like, she's constantly just very spontaneous. Like, one day she could be sitting in the house and then she's like, oh, I'm going to book a holiday tomorrow, you know, to go to, you know, I don't know, China. Like, she's that. I'm like, where are you pulling this money from?
Seriously, where's it coming from?
But she's got that, her way of living, her motto for life is just, everything's going to be fine. Everything will work out. No worries, no stress. I wish I could be like that. I am constantly thinking about, you know, right, I need a structure, I need a plan. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and this is how I'm going to do it. And then I need to know where I'm going. Sometimes I wish I was a bit more spontaneous, but I can't be. I have my moments.
Yep. Yeah. I love being, I've always been spontaneous my entire life. I've always been that person. I have to just
share
do it.
Share
I
that
will.
with me.
I will bring it over. I will bring it over. I have to go to Scotland at some point in my life too. So
if you come to Scotland, I will show you about. You will love it. I mean,
I will love it.
Very cold. It's not warm, so bring weather appropriate clothing.
Okay. I will plan on that. Stefanie, I have loved chatting with you. You've just shared so much that I know that our listeners are gonna take away from this. Keep doing what you're doing out there on social media. Now, if there was one last thing you would want to leave our listeners with, what would that be?
That's such a hard question. There's so much I would like to say, but essentially just take your time. Don't rush things. Don't feel like you have to be someone that you're not. Accept, that even though things might not be turning out or be panning out the way you had expected them to, as cliche as it sounds, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and you just need to persevere, find what works for you, and do you.
I love it. All right, last thing. If people wanted to find you, where is the best place for them to go to find you, to follow you, to message you, to ask you questions?
The best place to find me would be on Instagram. I have a little platform that's called Life with a Stoma, and then a little underdash. On there, I share photos about, everything that I do each day. I share frequently asked questions that I get about living life with a stoma, what it's like being young with a stoma. And essentially, I just share my life. Some things aren't even stoma related. Sometimes I just talk about my breakfast.
Yeah, me too. Right? We don't want to talk about that all the time. It's just a piece of it. It's not, yeah.
But yeah, if you want to find me, Instagram.
Perfect. And I will make sure I put it in the show notes, and then everybody can follow you from there. So Stefanie, thank you so much for being here with us this week. Really, truly have appreciated and loved this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us this week. If you enjoyed this podcast, get the behind the scenes at LeeAnneHayden.com/ostomy updates. And also, if you found this episode encouraging, please screenshot it and share it on Instagram. And don't forget to tag me and also the person who was on the episode with me. I occasionally will do special gifts for anyone who does do a screenshot and share it on Instagram or in your stories. Also, lastly, please go to Apple or Google, rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast to keep up with them every single week. I enjoy you guys. Thank you so much for being here.